What's up, everybody? It's Ryan here. Sony had their E3 press conference, and so did Microsoft. We know about some games, we know about some exclusives, we know about some features, we know about some always online and DRM and all that. Holy crap, it's all over, so we're going to talk about it now. Woo! Okay, Sony's E3 press conference basically ended about an hour ago, so I wrote everything down, and I'm damn sure glad that I did write everything down because holy crap, I wouldn't be able to remember all of it. It was a 2 hour long show, so oh my god, let's just get right into it. What we're gonna do basically is we're going to recap the conference very fast, touching through each part of the conference and what happened in sequential order of when it happened, giving my tidbits, impressions of what I think about what happened, and all that jazz. And then, of course, we will get into Microsoft show a little bit, and, of course, go about, the business side of, Sony versus Microsoft, because that's always fun to talk about and nitpick on the internet, so why not? But first off, Jack Tretton takes the stage, of course. Jack Tretton, he's my man. So right off the bat, he talked about the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita, and honestly, he got these out of the way really quick. He did not spend a whole lot of time on these, which is semi-disappointing because, while PS3 is 7 years old, Vita is still relatively new, and I know a lot of us fans on this channel, if you're subscribed to me, you like my PlayStation Vita stuff. We have PlayStation Vitas. We want to see PS Vita support, and we really didn't get a whole lot of that during this conference. But I'll tell you what, Vita did get announced. God of War Collection and Dead Nation is coming to Vita. So God of War Collection, of course, is on PS3. So is Dead Nation. That's by House Marquee, however you pronounce that studio's name, but those are coming to Vita. So there's two new games, and they showed off a couple of other PS3 games. In fact, a lot of PS3 games. They basically did a montage of all the PS3 games that are coming out, games that we already know about. So Sony spent a lot of time talking about that. Traditionally, at all their events, whether it's TGS or Gamescom, they always like to show games that we know about, and Sony definitely did that here. Then they moved on to, as always, as tradition with Sony press conferences, they announced a random PS3 bundle that maybe a couple people are going to buy. Grand Theft Auto 5 is getting a PS3 bundle, and actually it's getting the Pulse stereo wireless headset is coming into that bundle, and it actually has a 5 logo on it. It's a GTA 5 headset, but it's still the Sony official headset for PS3. So it's a PS3 bundle. If you don't own a PS3 now and you want GTA 5 and a GTA 5 branded headset, you can go ahead and buy that. And that's pretty much it for PS3 and Vita. They ended it off right there. Again, kind of disappointing because they didn't spend a whole lot of time on Vita. I know a lot of people are pretty bummed out about that. I definitely am too. Now, what's interesting about this is, and this was actually one of my predictions for E3, that we would see a PS3 and PS Vita price cut, because PS3 is certainly due for one at this point. I don't see why they can't drop the price of that hardware. And of course, PS Vita, definitely needs one. The system is struggling in retail. It's been out for a year. It's definitely due for one at some point. Hopefully, we'll see one in upcoming events such as Gamescom and TGS. But as of right now, no Vita price cut, no PS3 price cut. I was thoroughly surprised by that. I thought for sure we'd see that at this event, and we did not, and that kind of sucks. Moving on from the GTA 5 bundle, the PlayStation 4's design was finally shown. We know what the console looks like. PlayStation 4, we know what it looks like. And hey, I called this one out about the PS4 design back when they showed that teaser video. I guessed that there would be sort of a blue trim highlighting beam to the system, and there is definitely that. I'll show a picture right now, I guess. And the system is, it's alright, I guess. I wasn't too thrilled when I looked at it. Honestly, at first glance, it kind of looks like an Xbox One because it has a two-tone design, but then once you look at it more, it really is not in any way, shape, or form kind of the same. It looks slimmer than the Xbox One. Of course, it does have a matte finish on part of it, but then the top half is actually also has a nice glossy finish to it. The PlayStation button looks like it's in chrome. That's very nice. The system is basically tilted, I guess. I mean, look at it. If you can see that side shot, it looks very interesting. I mean, it also has a sort of two-toned cut in half design. It looks like someone cut the system right in half. And of course, that's probably where your discs are going to go. But PlayStation 4 design, we know it's a black box, but that's what it looks like. What do you guys think? I'm kind of on it. Personally, my favorite console design ever was the PS3 Fat. And I know, of course, there's a lot of great console designs. I'm saying out of total, I think PS3 Fat's my favorite console design ever. So I'm kind of iffy on the PS4 design, but whatever. It's just, it's a games machine. It's going to play games. So in a surprising turn of events, Sony then moved on to TV. Yep, that's right. They moved on to TV and network services and all that stuff. Basically, the stuff at the Xbox One reveal that everyone hated. Now, again, if you go back to my Xbox One reveal video, I basically said that while gamers don't like that stuff definitely appeals to mass market, and that's what sells systems. And obviously, I think from a business standpoint, Sony looked at that and definitely did want to include a small portion of that into their conference, because that's what this was. They did not spend a whole lot of time on TV and services. They only spent about 10 minutes on it, but they did clarify it and send it out there. Hey, PS4 is going to be a service machine. It's going to have actually they announced Redbox for PS3 and 4, Flickster for PS3 and 4. Those are new things that are currently not available on PS3 right now, of course. And then, of course, they said, PS3 is number one for Netflix, which it is. And then other stuff. And actually, Sony Pictures came to the stage, the CEO of Sony Pictures, and he talked about, this was really vague. He talked about some films and television stuff coming to PS4 exclusively, and possibly original programming to PlayStation Network, much like Xbox One had with Halo original programming. So again, they didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. They didn't talk a whole lot about it, but I'm glad they didn't. They just kind of put it out there like, hey, we got the TV services too, and original programming. So then they moved on to PlayStation 4 games, and if you remember a while ago, Sony filed a patent for a game called The Order 1886. They show that here. It is a PlayStation 4 exclusive by Ready at Dawn and Sony Santa Monica, which is really interesting because Ready at Dawn, for a while, they made PSP games, they made God of War, Chains of Olympus and all that, and then they said that we're not going to make any PSP games anymore, and then they made another PSP game, and then they said they're doing next-gen stuff, and they're doing a PS4 exclusive. So they did show a trailer for The Order 1886, and it looks really good, actually. The developers are promising that is in-game, it's running real-time, that's what you can expect when the game actually comes out, and it looks like, basically it looks like it's set in an alternate universe. It looks very old school, but it has basically futuristic weapons in it and stuff like that, kind of like steampunky kind of sort of thing. They're shooting like these aliens or something, not aliens, but they're shooting like zombies or something. I don't know, it's a trailer, so we don't obviously know everything about the game just yet, but The Order 1886, we know about it. It's coming to PS4. It is exclusive to PS4, and it looks pretty awesome. I'm definitely optimistic about it, and I'm looking forward to it because, I like games. And then moving on from that, they actually showed the 4 PS4 games that we already knew about back in February. They showed Knack, Killzone, Infamous Second Son, Drive Club. They showed little trailers. They were actually really quick, but they did confirm that Killzone, Shadowfall, Knack, and Drive Club are PlayStation 4 launch titles. So those are coming day one. So then moving on from that, Quantic Dream showed a tech demo, and if you remember back in the February reveal of the PS4, they showed a Quantic Dream tech demo of an old guy basically sitting there and looking pretty and demonstrating the engine and all that. And now that actually got elaborated on further. The old guy was dressed up as a wizard doing this like ritual thing, and then it turns out that they were actually on a movie set and stuff, and it looked funny and whatnot. It was actually pretty funny and humorous, but basically it was another tech demo. You can go look for it yourself. It was called The Dark Sorcerer, and it was just another tech demo. They were saying they're going to show the rest of the tech demo later. And that's pretty much it. When I was watching this, I was like, you know what, this is funny, and it looked really good, but I was like, another tech demo? I don't want to see tech demos. I want to see games. I want to see something I can buy. It remains to be seen if The Dark Sorcerer is going to be a full-fledged game. Quantic Dream definitely did that with Heavy Rain before. That was a tech demo before, and then it became a real game. But they showed a tech demo, and for me, that was like, okay, I've seen enough. I don't want to see any more. Whether it's a good tech demo or not, it's not guaranteeing me something I can purchase and play and have fun with. So then they showed off Transistor, which is another one of these indie games, and it was actually shown off a while ago, but now it's coming to PS4, and it's coming to PS4 first, although that does mean that the Transistor will be available elsewhere, but it is going to be first on PS4. But then moving on from that, Sony went into the indie love. Now, we've been talking about this on this YouTube channel for a while. Sony is going hardcore on indie developers. They're telling developers, come to our platform. It's easy to develop for. We'll bring you in. You can self-publish on PSN. And they showed off. Oh my God! They showed off so many indie games. It's crazy. Don't Starve, Mercenary Kings, Octodad, Secret Panthos, Pancha. I can't read my own handwriting. Raise the Dead, Outlast, Oddworld, an Oddworld remake, Galax 2, Galax Z. Jesus Christ, my handwriting's so bad. Those games are all coming first on PS4. Now, of course, that would mean that they're coming somewhere else, but obviously Sony is going very hard on this indie stuff. These games are coming to PS4. They're coming to it first, which is good. Again, this was a part of the conference where I was watching it, and so far at this part of the conference, I'm very underwhelmed. I'm seeing stuff that I've already seen before. I'm seeing stuff that, business-wise, it's not great because these games are going to be somewhere else. Sure, it's on PS4 first, but is that really going to make someone go out and buy a PlayStation 4 first? This was my thinking at the time of this far into the conference. I'm like, okay, these are all great, and I like indie games. I don't get pumped for them, though. I don't like them until I have them in my hands and I'm playing them. I don't watch an indie game trailer and then go, I can't wait for that. It's just kind of something where I wait to have it and then I'm excited to play it because I know it's good. But I'm just seeing all this right now and I'm like, you know what? This is just stuff I've seen before. Vita was ignored, and then not completely ignored, but you know what I mean. And then PS3 obviously didn't have much to it. PS3 we just saw stuff we already knew was coming. So at this point, I'm very underwhelmed with the conference. But with that said, this is where the conference finally starts to make a 180 and goes into the right direction of something that's awesome and something that gamers are obviously going to be excited about. Now, right off the bat, they went into Final Fantasy Versus 13. We finally got an update about that. At first, it was just a video of a Square Enix employee going, sorry we couldn't make it, we'll have more details soon. And I was like, really? That's what you show? Back in February, you were like, please be excited for E3, and now it's like, please be excited for another event. But no, they jumped into a new trailer, actually, for Final Fantasy Versus 13. They showed a trailer, they showed what appeared to be gameplay, we don't know just yet, and it actually looked quite interesting, very different from Final Fantasy. Obviously, it looked. If you've watched it yourself, it looks. The dude's taking cover. He's running all over the place. There's epic set pieces, as most of these games are having nowadays. Looks like a very different approach to a Final Fantasy game. But then right at the end, it was also confirmed that Final Fantasy Versus 13 has been renamed to Final Fantasy 15, and it said coming to PlayStation 4. We don't know if it's exclusive. I'm going to say no. Now, before I talk about exclusivity, they went right into another bombshell. They showed another trailer, and boom, they showed off Kingdom Hearts 3. Holy crap. So nobody saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. Journalists didn't see that coming. They showed a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's awesome. We haven't seen... Kingdom Hearts 2 was back in 2006, and we only got like DS and PSP stuff, but Kingdom Hearts 3, a full-on thing. That's awesome. But again, they didn't say anything about exclusivity. As a gamer, it's all like at this point in the conference, you're like, as a gamer, this is awesome. Games. As a business standpoint, Sony is showing all these games that are definitely on other systems to possibly on other systems. They showed Final Fantasy 15 and they showed Kingdom Hearts 3. That's awesome. These are games that I'm going to buy and enjoy on PlayStation 4. But from a business standpoint of what Sony's trying to do here and win gamers' hearts over and I guess, make people buy PS4s because that's the only place to buy these games. We don't know if this is the only place to buy those games. They did not say exclusive, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15. And if these games were exclusive, don't you think Sony would have said something? Don't you think they would have said exclusive to PlayStation 4? Kingdom Hearts 3, you'd want to put that right out there that's exclusive. Maybe it is exclusive, I don't know, because again, this conference ended an hour ago, and by the time I upload this, maybe what I'm saying right now isn't relevant anymore, but as of right now, we don't know, and that's what I think of the situation. Oh, and they also mentioned that Final Fantasy 14 is coming to PS4 as well as PS3, so there's that. But moving on, they played Assassin's Creed 4 live. Now, this part of the conference, I was like, whatever, because I don't like Assassin's Creed, I never liked it, so I was just kind of, doing this, waiting for it to be over. But this was interesting because the demo actually was having very rough technical difficulties, and the game basically cut out. That they stopped, the demo stopped before it was obviously intentionally supposed to end. It kept scratching all over the place, lagging all over the place, and then obviously it was not... the live streams were not lagging or anything. This was on stage. This is what happened. And basically, they gave up on it. Assassin's Creed was not playing. They dropped it, and then they actually moved on to Watch Dogs. Now, of course, right off the bat, people want to go, oh, PS4 can't run Assassin's Creed 4, or PS4 is having problems, and blah, blah, blah. The thing about that is this is E3, and nothing ever goes right in terms of the setting up the stage and actually doing stuff. Nothing like this has ever happened before, and from what I can remember. But actually, Microsoft had some issues during their conference, and EA had some issues during the conference. Granted, EA's issues weren't about a game, but it just kind of shows that E3 is obviously a big thing to set up, and there's a lot of things that could go wrong. And for some reason, this year, a lot of things did go wrong. Again, I don't care about Assassin's Creed 4. I don't care if that is how it runs when it comes out in PS4. But come on, the game's how many months away from coming out? It's probably going to be fine. But yeah, so after that bailed out, they moved on to Watch Dogs. Now, here's the thing about this part of the conference. Oh my god, I've seen enough of Watch Dogs. Holy crap. Trust me, Watch Dogs looks awesome. Ever since they showed it last E3, it looks awesome. I'm sold. I'm buying the game. But this E3, they're showing it again, and they're showing it again, and they're showing it again. I feel like I've seen the whole freaking game already. Stop showing me Watch Dogs. I want to buy the game at this point. It just shows that, Sony has always had a good working relationship with Ubisoft, so of course the game's going to be there, and of course they're going to play it on the stage, and they're going to announce exclusive PS4 content, which they did. Assassin's Creed 4 and Watch Dogs are getting exclusive PS4 content, but I don't really care about that. I don't think anybody else really think that's a bombshell of an announcement, but at this point, I've seen enough of Watch Dogs. I've seen enough of games I've already seen, and this is something that's been going on in the conference for a while now in Sony's E3 press conference. They've shown off a lot of stuff we already know about, and this is something I feel Sony has a problem with when it comes to them doing events. They spend too much time talking about stuff that we know about, and this conference should be about things that is going to get us excited for the future, rather than stuff we already know is coming to the future. I guess it would, if that's what I'm trying, if that makes sense to you. So moving on from that, they showed off basketball, sports for like a second. Don't know why. And then moving on from that, they showed off a big one. Elder Scrolls Online coming to PlayStation 4. So Elder Scrolls Online is coming 2014 spring. That's good. Elder Scrolls Online is obviously a big thing. People love Elder Scrolls and people want good games. So as I've said before, this is a good conference for gamers because we're seeing great games. If you don't care about exclusivity and all that, which you shouldn't because you're not in, like, you don't work at Sony or whatever, it's not about your job or whatever. Games should be games. We don't care where they're played. But from a business standpoint of what Sony's trying to do, this is where I think they had a really big problem in this conference, is they're showing too many things that is going to be available elsewhere. And even though they had something for the Elder Scrolls Online, which is that the beta is going to be on PS4 first, that's not going to make someone just buy a PS4 over playing the game on their PC or buying an Xbox One. It's like they're showing too much stuff that's going to be elsewhere. Then moving on from that, Mad Max the game was announced for PlayStation 4, which is cool. It's another game, but this game is going to be available elsewhere. The only thing Sony really had for this in terms of a business was there's going to be an exclusive survival kit for the PlayStation 4 version of the game. Awesome game that's coming out, but again, it's going to be elsewhere. So at this point in the conference, and of course me watching Xbox's conference earlier in the day, I'm very underwhelmed. I'm like, okay, well, there's tons of games. That's great. I'm going to buy them regardless of whatever platform they're on. But again, as a business, Sony's not showing a lot of stuff to make you buy a PS4 over an Xbox One. Because, of course, even though Xbox One has all those DRM stuff and you know, an internet connection required every 24 hours of login and used games, situation and restriction, people are assuming that this stuff's also going to be on PS4. And this far into the conference, people are thinking, okay, this stuff's in PS4. This is where the show took a huge turn. And Sony came out or Jack Tretton came out and he, bam, right at Microsoft. This is a direct blow to them. There is absolutely no internet connection required whatsoever. No online check-in on the PlayStation 4. You can buy and sell used games at any brick and mortar retailer you choose, or mom and pop shop, whatever you want to do. Now, of course, this part of the conference made a huge eruption of applause at the conference. This is mind blowing. Even I was thinking, oh my God, PS4 is definitely going to have this stuff, because of course the question was, you know, publishers, they're wanting to do this. Publishers want to do this because they want to sell more games and they don't want used copies to go out and stuff, and it was assumed that publishers were loving Xbox One's choice of restrictions, but Sony came out and said, look, we ain't doing any of it, straight up, and they clarified every detail about this. Clearly this was Sony listening. I feel like this part of the conference was not included beforehand until like that campaign came out trying to tell people, look, we don't want this on the system. I feel like Sony was never going to do this. It's not like they saw the campaign and then chose not to do it, but rather than they were never going to do it, saw the campaign and said, okay, well, let's acknowledge it and use this to our advantage. Because again, as I've said before, Sony was in a position right now where it was theirs to lose. They were doing so well with all this PS4 momentum and how Xbox One basically came out and everyone hated it for what it was doing. And then, of course, Xbox One and Microsoft revealed clarification on their restrictions to all this stuff. And now Sony came out and boom, blasted it right in their faces. We're not doing any of it. And this is a huge blow to Microsoft. And people are thinking, well, this is going to make publishers angry. Look, publishers, if people buy PlayStation 4s over Xbox Ones, publishers got to make their money and they got to put their games on PlayStation 4. And at this point in the game, Microsoft has they're definitely including these features. There's no turning back for them at this point. Microsoft is going to have these features in their Xbox in the Xbox One, and Sony is not doing it. In fact, if you haven't seen it, look this up. Sony did basically a tutorial on how to share used games, where Shuhei Yoshida hands a used game over to God, what's his name? It's escaping me right now, but he hands a used game to another Sony employee, and that's it. That's the end of the video. That's how you share games on PS4. Just hand them to your friend. It was hilarious. This was a good thing for Sony business-wise. Now, there's one thing to mention here, and that is, if you watched Ubisoft's press conference, they actually announced a game called The Crew, which is this online car game, and it was confirmed that The Crew, that game, is doing always online. That game is going to require an internet connection to play it, and that is probably going to happen on PlayStation 4. And you're probably wondering right now, as I said this, well, why? Sony said they're not doing it. Well, to clarify, Sony is saying that the system is not requiring this. What Microsoft's doing is via system. That means the system is going to check no matter what game you're playing. Whereas Sony's saying again, publishers can still kind of do this. So if a publisher wants to make an always online game for PS4, they're probably still going to be able to do that. But natively, the system does not support something like that. The system is not natively going to check the disc every 24 hours to confirm that you can play a game or anything like that. But if, for example, you want to play an online car game and you're not online, then you can't play the online car game. That's not necessarily Sony's fault. That definitely falls square on the publisher. But as of right now, Sony ain't doing nothing is built into the system that is going to combat used games or always online. So then moving on from that awesome announcement, they moved on to Destiny, which of course is from Bungie. And this is another thing where Sony was basically, man, I keep stretching my arm out. Sony is showing that they are in a good partnership with Bungie right now. Again, that was totally a stab at Microsoft because, of course, Microsoft and Bungie have a good working relationship. So Bungie's back on stage. They're showing off Destiny, showing off exclusive content for PlayStation 4, or at least announcing it. So that's cool. So they talked about Gaikai. Remember, they bought Gaikai for, streaming and all that, and they didn't talk about it much. In the February event, they basically said with Gaikai streaming, we could do all this crazy stuff. And then Sony came out later and said, due to backwards compatibility, we can't. PS4 doesn't have backwards compatibility, but with Gaikai we could possibly make that work. And they've announced basically that is definitely coming. But hold your horses, this is definitely something they are working on. This is something that isn't available at launch. They said that hopefully by 2014, Gaikai streaming will work in the US. So they're only promising 2014 in the US Gaikai streaming, and they're promising that some blockbuster PlayStation 3 games will be streamable and playable on your PlayStation 4 and your PlayStation Vita, which it's better than nothing, right? It's certainly not great, but hopefully this leads into full-on streaming with most PS3 games on the PS4 and PS Vita. And again, they didn't say a whole lot of things about it. 2014, only in the US. We don't know if it's, if you need PlayStation Plus, what PS3 games are going to be supported, if you need to rebuy the game. We don't know the answers to any of these questions, but it's better than nothing because people are obviously so upset about backwards compatibility, and I don't care about backwards compatibility because I already have a PS3. I'll keep it and play my games on it. But I guess the moral of the story of this is PlayStation 3 games will be playable on your PlayStation 4 at some point to some degree. But then they ended off the conference with the big heavy hitter right next to their stance on used games and always online and DRM and all that. PlayStation 4 will be coming out at the end of the holiday season. We didn't get a month even, but it is priced at $399. So boom, bam, two major shots at Xbox One. Xbox One was announced to be coming out in November for $500. So $500 box that has all these restrictions on your games. Sony said, boom, we got a box that's $100 cheaper. It's got all these great games coming to it. Granted, it's coming somewhere else, but hey, we're also doing we can let you play used games, and there's no online check-in and all that. So they did a really good job there. Now, one interesting detail that did come out of the conference, and this actually really, really, really sucks, and I do not agree with this whatsoever. Unfortunately, PlayStation Plus is now required if you want to play online games. So much like Xbox Live, it is now required that you do need a PlayStation Plus to play online games, and I do not agree with this whatsoever. I'm honestly quite shocked that they did that. I thought for sure PSN online play would still be free, but now it is required to play online games on PlayStation 4, which is a total bummer. I mean, obviously that was one of Sony's huge advantages. It is worth noting that you do not need PlayStation Plus for the extra stuff like Netflix and Music Unlimited and all that, so there is that, but it does suck that you have to pay. Obviously, PlayStation users are used to this, so going into it, it does suck that you now have to pay for PlayStation Plus, and I think the thing of it is, I mean, Sony couldn't require online play on the PS3 because it came out with free online, and you couldn't charge PS3 online because Xbox 360 had all these great things like cross-game chat, and all around Xbox Live was just a better online experience. So Xbox users for years have been justifying paying for Xbox Live Gold. So now that PlayStation 4 has caught up with these features in terms of cross-game chat and reliable online and possibly Gaikai streaming, now Sony can kind of justify charging users to pay to play online, which I still don't agree with. Again, I'm really shocked that they did that. I don't think they should do that because that was always their upper hand, but I guess that is why they justify it. What's interesting is at the Xbox One conference, they basically are trying to combat PlayStation Plus because Xbox Live Gold from now on is going to have 2 free games a month, which is definitely a slam at PlayStation Plus. From now on Xbox Live Gold, every month, Microsoft will be giving away 2 free games. They're starting it off with Assassin's Creed 2 or 3 and Halo 3. So they're giving you free games, again, totally against PlayStation Plus. If you want to really get into it, I guess PlayStation Plus is definitely, obviously, the winner in this case because while you do have to pay to play online on PlayStation, and that does really suck. I guess you don't need it. You don't need it for the extra features, which of course Microsoft is still going to require. You're going to need Xbox Live Gold to watch Netflix, which is still totally stupid. But on PlayStation Plus, at least PlayStation Plus is still way better than Xbox Live, because even though they're doing the 2 free games, PlayStation Plus still pretty much crushes Xbox Live Gold's 2 free games a month, because obviously PlayStation Plus updates are bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks you're getting free games, full retail games, full game trials, and of course there's the discounts and there's the betas. So there is an upper hand to PlayStation Plus if you want to really get into it and be, if you want to be nitpicky about it and try to support PlayStation as best as you can. I'm really disappointed that they're requiring online play. But that was pretty much Sony's E3. I thought it was a good show. And the reason why I say good show instead of a fantastic show is because, again, they showed a lot of stuff they showed a lot of stuff that we've seen before. They showed a lot of stuff that's going to be available elsewhere. They didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about Vita or PS3. So in those respects, I'm actually really bummed, because Sony could have done a lot better. What's interesting is, and as I've said before, and as it's known, Sony owns the most developers. So physically, it's within Sony's ability to make more exclusive games for PlayStation 4. It's definitely going to happen, despite what Xbox One may be coming up with. I'm more than confident Sony can outmatch that, because they own more developers. They can just physically do this over Microsoft, and I'm surprised that they didn't show these PS4 projects, because every one of Sony's developers is working on a PS4 game. So they didn't show it here. I mean, that means we're going to see it elsewhere. Of course, Naughty Dog and Media Molecule and I mean, these developers are doing PS4 stuff. They're doing it. So where are they? Obviously, what can be taken away here is that we'll probably see price cuts and PS Vita support and all that, and PS4 exclusives at TGS and Gamescom. But for E3, of course, it was a little underwhelming in that respect. What really brought the show home was the fact that Sony was supporting gamers and really showing developers, hey, this is a great platform to come on, telling gamers, look, we're not doing any restrictions, making the price cheaper, somewhat announcing kind of a fix for backwards compatibility for some PS3 games. It's better than nothing, right? They definitely stole the show there. And showing off, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15, those were good. The Order 1886 looked awesome. That is exclusive. It was good all around. So with all that said, I do think Sony had a good show, but of course now let's talk a little bit about Microsoft. I'm not going to cover their conference, obviously, but let's compare the two. If you want, I'm going to assume at this point you've seen Microsoft's conference, or you know what was announced there. And basically they did the reveal, they showed nothing but not games, and then they said E3 is all about games, and Microsoft was all about games. I was actually thoroughly impressed with Microsoft's E3 press conference. Game after game after game after game, and a good majority of them actually were exclusive. They snatched up Dead Rising 3, which looks really, really awesome in my opinion. I thought it looked fantastic, and I'm kind of bummed out that I won't be playing it on PlayStation. I'll have to get an Xbox One, which, is fine. Like I said, I don't care about... I'm not that biased. I mean, of course I like PlayStation, but I'm going to buy games no matter where they are. I mean, in terms of exclusive games, Microsoft definitely won in this respect, which they shouldn't have, because like I said, Sony owns all these studios. We know they've got PS4 stuff coming. It's just the fact that I guess they didn't show them here, which is a bummer. But Microsoft did well. They did really well. You've got to be... I mean, I know a lot of you guys that are watching me are PlayStation subscribers. You like PlayStation. You want to convince yourselves that, Xbox One's going to die and all that. But come on. They had a good showing. They had great games. And I'm probably going to buy them. Why, of course, why not? Now, of course, Microsoft's conference did have some third-party games in there, so these games will definitely make their way to PS4 at some point. Microsoft was very keen on saying exclusive left and right, and some of them are definitely exclusives. They probably won't ever come to PlayStation 4, but some of these will. As I've said before, 360 lost a lot of exclusives, and it was just a matter of time until they came over. So I'm thoroughly convinced that Titanfall, The Witcher 3, of course, MGS5, those are definitely multi-platform, but some of these will definitely make their way to PlayStation at some point. But of course, Microsoft announced a pretty high price tag. They're still very keen on injecting all these limits to you and gamers, and I feel like Sony definitely won in that respect. I mean, this was all about connecting with your consumers and being transparent, and they're not limiting you. And they also provided an affordable console. And even though, like I said, games were sort of lacking at Sony's E3 in terms of exclusives, those are coming. I have no doubt that those are coming. So it was definitely a close show, in my opinion. Microsoft definitely brought the heat. They definitely had games much like they were talking about. But personally, I think Sony came out on top just a little bit. just a little bit. They did have a lot of faults, you know. Now, of course, I made this video just hours after Sony's press conference ended, and E3 is still going on. There's still tons of stuff to talk about, so I'm going to let all the dust settle. I'm going to let these details pour out as E3 goes on, and we'll definitely talk about all the extra details that I've missed on Let's Talk PlayStation this Friday. So I hope you enjoyed my little E3 recap, impressions, comparison to Microsoft's press conference and all that jazz. But of course, let me know what you think of the conference. I'm sure you're quite happy with Sony's choice in the PS4 and their price and all that, and its fair share of games. There's definitely some great stuff there that was announced, and hey, I'm happy to be a gamer, man. I'm excited. I can't wait. I actually already have my PlayStation 4 pre-ordered. Go get it now, guys, if you're planning on getting one. But what do you guys think? Thank you all for talking with me about the E3 press conference. I'm Ryan Benecki, and I'll see you Friday for Let's Talk PlayStation.